All right. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We'll get things underway here. We want to be mindful of your time. I know it's the lunch hour, so we will get started in just a second. Really quick, just so you know, the presentation will be recorded, but we will pause that recording during the Q&A session if you have any questions that you want to ask either of us. So we'll go ahead and get started. We've got two different topics for you today. Scam safety and credit management. I'll be handling the scam safety portion. My name is Kat Schmieder. I'm the communications director for BBB of Upstate New York. And for the credit management side, we have Libby Morsheimer from Parachute Credit Counseling. So we appreciate her joining us today. And once we get through this BBB portion of the presentation, then Libby will take over. So let's get started here. All right, just a little bit about BBB to get started. Uh, the Better Business Bureau itself was established in 1912 to fight against false advertising. Back then, it was like the Wild West with companies making all sorts of claims about themselves and their products. Fast forward to 1923, BBB of Upstate New York was established. We just celebrated our 100th anniversary last year. Right now, we have a network of roughly 7,600 accredited businesses across our service area, and we serve 48 counties across upstate New York. We're headquartered here in Buffalo, but again, we serve all of upstate New York. So, best way to put it is pretty much everything but New York City. So, we have a very large service area and a pretty vast network of accredited businesses. I always add this, our team is happy to help. So if you ever need anything or have any questions, we're here for you. Please reach out. And I just include these ads just to kind of show you how things have changed. BBB back then, that's a picture of an advertisement. And this one always catches everyone's attention. Cocaine tooth drops promising an instantaneous cure. So that just gives you an example of the kind of claims that businesses were making back then and what led to the need to form the Better Business Bureau. And then on the right, BBB Now. These are the types of BBB ads you might see these days, along with the torch logo, which any of our accredited businesses are able to display as a Better Business Bureau member. All right, so when it comes to scams, who is vulnerable? Many of us know this, but fraud is a growing problem. In 2023, the FTC estimates consumers lost a combined $10 billion to scams and fraud, which is the first time a number like that has been reached. Of course, there are lots of factors that contribute to this, but a couple of things, the internet, social media, AI, this all contributes to scammers being able to target victims and craft more sophisticated messages. I always like to say this, no age group is immune to scams. I think there's a common misconception that it's really only older adults who are targeted or seniors, and that's not the case. As of the past few years, we have data that shows 18 to 24-year-olds are actually losing more money to scams than any other age group. So it's really important for everybody to have their guard up and know how to protect themselves. Of course, knowledge equals prevention. So knowing the tactics scammers use and the top scams targeting you will help prevent fraud and protect you from losing money or personal information. So we'll get into scams by age group, mostly focusing on the 18 to 24-year-old age group and how you can protect yourself. All right, so these are trends from our annual risk report. Each year, the BBB system publishes what's called our risk report to show, what scams are being reported most frequently and how much people are losing to these scams. So these are the factors that go into putting this chart together here, and this is from the BBB system as a whole. And this really gives you a good picture of what types of scams might be targeting your age group and others. So, the top three for 18 to 24, employment scams, number one. And that's something we're seeing a lot more of after the pandemic. Number two, online purchase scams. We'll get into that too. Number three, investment scams. This is becoming more common. Unfortunately, we just issued a report that shows investment scams are on the rise. So 25 to 34, pretty similar with employment, investment, and online purchase scams. 35 to 44, again, employment scams, the number one scam targeting this age group, investment, online purchase, same for 45 to 54. And then it changes a little bit when you get into the 55 and 65 and up crowd, just with home improvement scams and also romance scams for the 65 and up age group. But today we're going to go over scams targeting 18 to 24-year-olds. And then if you want any information on any of these other scams that we might not be touching on, please feel free to reach out. Be happy to send you resources. All right, so first up, scams impacting 18 to 24-year-olds, employment scams. Victims of employment scams are led to believe they are applying or have just been hired for a promising new career when instead they have in fact given personal information or money to scammers for training or equipment. In another variation, the victim may be overpaid with a fake check and asked to wire back the difference. Like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, this is something that we're seeing reported in really high numbers, particularly after the COVID pandemic, because so many people are looking for remote work opportunities. Scammers know this. So what typically happens is somebody will reach out unsolicited, or either they saw your resume on a job site and make an offer that typically sounds too good to be true. They'll then, send a check for your work from home equipment and ask you to transfer those funds via peer-to-peer payment app like Venmo or Cash App to a different account to then have those items shipped to you. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't realize that the check hasn't cleared when they deposit it, because that takes a little time, and then that money has been sent off and you'll unlikely to be seen again. So this is something that we really want people to be aware of, regardless of whether or not you're on the hunt for a new job or not. All right, so this is an example that we'll go over here. Greetings. After thoroughly reviewing your profile on Indeed, we are extremely impressed with your qualifications and extensive experience. We're pleased to extend an invitation for you to join as a parcel inspection specialist. This is a part-time role that will require approximately 10 to 15 hours of your commitment per week. To recognize your skills and expertise, we are delighted to offer you a monthly salary of $2,350. Additionally, you'll have the opportunity to participate in our bonus programs and potentially earn an additional $1,200 each month on top of your regular salary. Please be aware that this is a remote part-time position, so access to a smartphone or another internet-enabled device as well as a printer is essential. Okay, so right away we can see some red flags here. You see the sender, it's coming from a Gmail account, not an official domain for a company. And again, look at the offer here, 10 to 15 hours, offering you a salary like that, promising bonuses, and then setting you up to think that you're going to need to purchase certain supplies. So these are things you should look out for if you receive an email like this. We would always say, be familiar with the company that is reaching out to you or where you're applying for jobs. Do a little bit of research on them, make sure they exist, make sure they're actually hiring. And if you're unsure, contact us. Like I said, once you send that money or share personal information, it's really hard to recover financially. So, you have to remember that if something sounds too good to be true, it most likely is, and that goes for anything. On to the next topic, online purchase scams. Unfortunately, we see these reported in very frequent numbers. I monitor our scam tracker daily, which I'll get into a little bit later. And online purchase scams are far and away the scam that's most frequently reported to us. 4 out of 5 scams reported to us are online purchase scams. And of course, the ease of shopping online and social media have contributed to this number, with scammers creating fake websites or phony social media ads to trick consumers. Shoppers are encouraged to avoid too good to be true deals and stick to dealing with retailers they know and trust. It's also important to know how to spot a fake website and make sure the site they're using is secure. Social media complicates things because as people are doing their shopping, it's so easy for a scammer to create a fake store, fake business, fake account, or fake website. So you really have to know how to identify that. I mean, first, it's best to just stick with retailers that you're familiar with. But second, look closely at the website before you buy something and look closely at logos. Is a website missing an official logo? Is that logo off slightly? One example is Amazon. Amazon's one of the top impersonated companies by scammers. So, when people are doing their online shopping, they might go to a link that says Amazon.com, but the O isn't actually an O, it's a zero. So those are just little tactics scammers use to trick people, but they do make mistakes. One thing they often do is fail to spell certain words correctly, or the grammar they'll use isn't correct on a lot of these websites. So again, just a couple of things that you should be looking out for, especially as the holiday season is going to be here before we know it. And many people do their online shop, or excuse me, many people do their holiday shopping online these days. Also, when you're shopping online, and I can't stress this enough, it's really important to pay by credit card versus any other payment method. Credit cards will give you the best chance at getting your money back should you encounter a scam. All right, so here is an example of a fake website. Right away, it's not secure, so you see that listed in the browser. You should always look for HTTPS and a little lock symbol. That S stands for secure, and the lock symbol tells you that you're on a safe website. So this is impersonating Ace Hardware. Right away, we can see something's wrong. You don't see any logos. The website is very bare bones, and there are some misspellings. So again, just look closely for these things. And if you do come across a website that obviously isn't real, we'd encourage you to report it to us, so we can then share that and notify other people. But as you can see here, this really doesn't look like anything you would see from an Ace Hardware store website, and you see those misspellings there. All right, this is an online shopping phishing text sample. And this is what I want to bring up because I personally have been receiving these a lot lately, and I know many people have as well. So I really just want to draw everyone's attention to it. Phishing scams are also on the rise, unfortunately, and scammers are using text message to target people. Knowing that a lot of people like me do a lot of online shopping these days, so it's easy to lose track of what you've ordered from where. The text of this one is USPS package has arrived at the warehouse and cannot be delivered due to incomplete address information. Please confirm your address in the link within 12 hours. It then gives you a link which prompts you to enter personal information. And then the US Postal Team wishes you a wonderful day. So USPS is never going to engage with you like this unless you sign up for alerts. But again, something like this is easy to fall for because if you're doing a lot of online shopping, you've got, a couple of packages arriving from different sources, you might think that this is real. So a lot of times they want to steal personal information for you or tell you that you need to update a payment method, and they then have access to all of those things, including your bank account. So, if you suspect that there might be a problem with a package from something you've ordered online, go directly to the retailer or the company that has shipped the product and reach out to them through an official number. Don't engage with any suspicious text messages like this. All right. Lastly, because this is something that has been increasing lately, scams impacting 18 to 24-year-olds, investment scams. We just published a report on the number of investment scams reported to us increasing. Over the past 3 years, BBB received more than 4,000 reports related to investment scams, many of which involved opportunities related to cryptocurrency or tactics. They are used to swindle people into a new take on romance fraud, in which the scammer gets more and more money out of the victim, increasing the amounts over time. 2023, BBB Scam Tracker reports nearly reached 1,400. a 3-year high. In each of those years, monetary losses rose, with the median loss hitting a high of $4,000 last year. Social media played a large role in these types of scams, with hundreds of people now encountering scammers on their favorite networking platforms. Investment scams change over time, but one thing stays the same: the promise of huge returns on the money given by the victim. Fake investment often creates the illusion of astronomical returns. Potential payout is used by the fraudster to extract even more money from their target. So consumers are advised to do an online search for any advisors who contact them, and always ask for certifications and location. Look up their phone number or email to see if they are linked to any other organizations. And if a friend reaches out on social media with financial advice, contact them to ensure they aren't being impersonated. So this is the problem here. Scammers are now using romance scams in social media to target people. We hear about this a lot, where someone might encounter somebody online or through a dating site. Things tend to move quickly. This individual will usually refuse to meet you in person. And once they've sort of gained your trust, they'll start asking for money or start talking about an investment opportunity. Or sometimes scammers will create a fake Facebook page or social media page that mimics someone you might be friends with. So you think that they're looking out for you, reaching out, encouraging you to get involved in this investment scheme. So it's best not to engage with this. I mean, the number one red flag for someone meeting you online or trying to enter a romantic relationship is if they refuse to meet you in person and they're asking for money. It's best to cut them off. But if you are interested in learning more about investment opportunities, you know, go through a legitimate broker or financial advisor. Make sure you're doing research on the individuals that you're engaging with. Right, and this is just a quick investment scam sample that was included in the report. Right away, get life income. So, they'll make outlandish claims and promises that, this will pay you for life. Usually, that's a red flag. So just look out for those types of things and that kind of language. All right, so switching gears a little bit, that's all data from our annual risk report, but I did want to go over the top 5 scams reported to BBB of upstate New York, which is our specific service area, just so you're aware of those. Number one, online purchase scams. We went over that. We received 653 reports to our scam tracker. Employment scams, 140. Phishing scams, 131. So again, just don't engage with any suspicious links that are sent your way. Home improvement scams. This is always timely. One good example right now is many people should be looking to hire a snow removal service. We know we unfortunately will be seeing snowfall here in just a couple of months. So if you're looking to hire a contractor for that or any type of service, always do your homework first. Start with BBB. We have tons of accredited businesses that you can look up and view their business profile on bbb.org to see how they're rated with us, what types of complaints or reviews they may have, and then just, a couple of other basic things. A reminder to always get a contract, know exactly what's in it, and again, just be familiar with the business you're hiring, and don't be afraid to ask for references. Most companies will be happy to send a few contacts your way or connect you with people who have done work with them and had a positive experience. And then number 5, this ties in with the online purchase scams, counterfeit product, people paying for a product, that looks nothing like what they think they ordered. Tips to protect yourself. I know we went over a lot of these, but real quick, I'll just go over them again. Always do your research. Use BBB as a resource. Like I said, we have tons of business profiles and information on companies. So use us. Do a search on our website to see what other people have experienced. When you're shopping online, pay by credit card, just to make sure you have the greatest form of protection. Don't send money via gift card or peer-to-peer payment app. Scammers love ripping people off with gift cards because it's an easy way to take money, and they know that, you're not going to get it back. So if somebody is asking for payment with a gift card, that's usually a huge red flag. And again, if you receive a job opportunity and they're asking you to send money via Venmo or Cash App for your work from home supplies, that's another red flag. So just, keep those things in mind. Avoid any offers that sound too good to be true. Like we said, if something sounds too good to be true, it most likely is. Do business with retailers and organizations you can trust. You should always avoid engaging with strangers you meet online, especially if they're refusing to meet you in person or they start asking for money. Use BBB as a resource. I want to talk about our scam tracker a little bit. This is a free resource that anybody can use. So it's bbb.org/scam tracker. You can report a scam if you unfortunately encounter one, or you can look up scams that are happening in your area just by typing in the city or zip code. So this is a really useful tool, and I encourage everybody to check it out when they have a little bit of extra time. But again, you should really report a scam if you encounter one. You don't necessarily have to share your name or any other details, but by sharing your experience, you can help prevent this from happening to somebody else. And that's so important. We're not aware of scams that are happening, or we can't accurately depict the trends if they aren't reported to us. So again, we really just encourage you to share those things. And then bbb.org, we have tons of resources for businesses and consumers. So if you're looking for tips on anything business related or just general tips for avoiding scams or a number of different topics, go ahead and check out our website. All right, and again, contact us if you have any questions or need anything. Our phone number is listed right there. There's my email address. Happy to help you anytime. That's the link to our website, and be sure to follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn, and we try to share lots of good content. And of course, if there are, scams trending, we'll share those with you there and online. So that wraps up my portion of the presentation, and I am going to hand things over to Libby. Libby, thank you for joining us and participating.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. And the presentation will be loaded here in just a moment. But I'll just mention that Parachute was formerly Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Buffalo. Most folks know us by that name. We have at least a 60-year history in the area in Western New York. And also we service all of New York State. And also we are in 19 other states because we can conduct appointments online and also over the phone. So we're going to talk about a roadmap to good credit, notably for young adults 18 to 24, although this is useful information for everybody. We want you navigating your credit with confidence. Next slide, please. I mentioned just a bit of this a moment ago, but we have a very cohesive, unified, and dedicated staff. We have a lot of people who've worked here many, many years. And even though our name changed a few years ago to Parachute, our mission remains the same. I'm very proud to say, and especially in conducting or co-conducting a meeting like this, that we are a United Way affiliate. We are also an A+ member of the Better Business Bureau. And if I didn't mention it earlier, we are a not-for-profit organization. Next slide, please. What services do we offer? Just quickly, financial counseling has to do with helping people identify various ways to pay down their debt. And there can be lots of different ways to do it. So that's the arm known as our financial counseling. Debt management, we actually have a signature debt management plan where we can put a proposal together and show you how you may be able to pay down, notably credit card debt and personal loans. So typically things that are referred to as unsecured debt in a quicker period of time with less interest. So if you want more information about that, you can certainly find it online at our site, and I'll share our contact information in just a bit. If you or you know anyone who's struggling with student loan repayment, and every day there's something new coming out about student loan repayment. There's been lots of hiccups with it, but it is free counseling up to 2 hours through a New York State grant. So please take advantage of that, either for yourself or anybody you know. Credit reports can be often difficult to decipher and read and understand all the pieces of them. We can do an expedited review of your credit report for you or a more in-depth view. Financial coaching, I'm actually very interested in, and that has to do with the decisions and our behaviors around money. And then the consequences, the outcomes, either we get ourselves in a really good position or sometimes not such a good position. If you're ever thinking of purchasing a home or you know anybody that is, and you want somebody to go through with you step by step what you need to do to purchase a home, we can help with that. Or if folks are on the other side where they're concerned about a delinquency in their payments, either rent or a mortgage payment, or they're concerned about a foreclosure on a home. And then finally, we do a variety of financial education workshops as they may be requested by members of the community. Okay, so what is credit? A lot of us essentially know what credit is, but here's kind of the hook with it. So it is the ability of you and I to obtain goods and services prior to paying for something, with the notion, with the understanding that that debt is going to be paid in good faith by the terms put out by the lender. And then that payment will be made in the future. The hook is there's often a charge for it. And that charge comes in the form of interest rates. We hear about finance charges and or fees. And in fact, in a single year in 2022, credit card companies made $130 billion in interest and fees. And then let's see, 14.5 billion in late fees. So that's in 1 year. Okay. So you don't necessarily want to be contributing to that type of monetary amount that credit card companies are making. Good credit versus bad credit. So essentially, when we refer to something being good credit, that refers to our ability to pay it back and pay it back in a shorter period of time. And so, with that, then there's lower rates for borrowing. So a lower interest rate means we're paying less overall, and the idea being that we can pay it back over a shorter period of time and it costs us less. Versus bad credit, where we might have more of a decreased ability to pay it back because it's going to take us longer and it's costing us more. So the best way to use credit cards, and I know that this is not always a reality for a lot of folks, is to have the ability to pay them back in full each month, to not use credit cards to basically subsidize your income. If you find you're in a position like that, it's a good idea to thoroughly review your budget, have somebody at Parachute review it for you, take on a side gig, a side hustle where you're maybe making a little bit more for a period of time. It's either increasing income or decreasing spending or some combination of both, or getting help from an organization like Parachute. The price of bad credit. The problem is if you can't qualify for a loan for something that you need, then you might have to use a rent to own service. And the problem is that can cost you 2 to 4 times more using a rent to own. And there's something out there called short-term title loans that people may or may not have heard of before. And this is where these are short-term loans, normally 15 to 30 days, where you can use the equity that you have based off the value of your car. And it's typically 25 to 50% of the value of your car. The problem is you have to turn over the title to your car. And if you're unable to make the payments or to meet that loan obligation in full by the end of 15 to 30 days, it can cost you your car. So these are risky alternative propositions to bad credit. And lenders may charge you excessive fees and interest rate. Now, this is just to give you an example of someone's credit score and how the credit score impacts ultimately what you might pay. So say I'm looking at buying an auto, that car is $20,000, and I'm looking at a 5-year loan. Maybe you have a credit score of a 720, which is quite good, and I have a 590. And what that does, it translates for you with the 720 as to having a lower interest rate and increases your ability to pay back that loan. Myself, on the other hand, I'm paying almost, 19% because I have a 590. So I'm paying much more in interest, which is going to make that debt harder for me to pay off and longer for me to pay off. So the monthly payment for you may be about $375. For me, it's going to be much closer to 500. But if you look at this whopping difference in the interest rate that is paid over the 5 years, you may be paying about $2,400 in interest. I'm paying almost 10 grand in interest for that same car. And it is a difference of 7537 in interest for you versus me. Next slide, please. Excuse me. So what's wrong with carrying a balance overall on a credit card? Well, when you carry a balance from month to month, as opposed to paying off the total amount, the amount of interest you are paying over time can be staggering. And we tend not to see it so much because it happens in small increments from month to month. So here's an example of this, which is kind of just incredible. Say I purchased not necessarily a new living room set for $2,000 because that's pretty low, but say I buy a couch for $2,000 on a credit card and I'm only making the minimum payments each month. And typically the creditors are asking for only 2 to 4% of the total amount. So it's kind of small. And say I'm paying 18% interest. And I will tell you now, in the climate we've got now, 18% interest is pretty darn good. The average overall credit card interest rate, and this is the big picture, is about 27%. It's much higher. But say I'm paying my 2% each month at 18% interest. It would take me 24 years to pay off that couch, which is mind-blowing to people. And I would pay with interest, with that 18% interest, I would pay about $6,400 in overall for that $2,000 couch. And that would be 312% more than what the retail price was. And after 24 years, what shape would that couch ever be in? If you had a dog or a cat or children, or you spilled on that couch, what would that couch look like after that period of time? Next slide, please. Switching gears just quickly, a lot of you may be familiar with the major credit bureaus. These are the bureaus that report regularly on our behavior with credit cards, with loans, with our mortgages, things of this nature. So they are TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. You may have heard of them before. Next slide, please. So what information appears on your credit report? Basically, there's personally identifying information, name, social security number, date of birth. In some cases, your employment history, not always, and your address history. And this information is reported by creditors when you're completing applications for any kind of credit or loan, any sort of debt that you are essentially applying for. And next slide, please. So what information appears on your credit report that actually impacts your credit score? And now, not all of these do, but a lot of them do, and we're going to go over what these are. So the type of account, when it was opened, the credit card limit you may have or the loan limit, your current account balance, your highest balance. So say you had a credit card with a $10,000 limit on it, and you charged up to $9,500, that was the highest point, that would be reported. What is your payment history? In other words, are you making your payments on time? And that is something that turns out to be very important with your credit score. And if there's an applicant, co-applicant, or what we call an authorized user on the account, and I'm going to explain that a little later because an authorized user option can actually be a good option for young people trying to establish credit. And again, this information is reported periodically. Next slide. Thank you. And what information appears on your report? If there's any sort of bankruptcy, and dependent on the type of bankruptcy, it'll stay on a credit report for 7 to 10 years. Court judgments or any kind of tax liens no longer appear on a credit report. Creditors are getting more forgiving about medical debt. When it is paid off, it is immediately removed. Anything delinquent under a year or under $500 will not be reported. And the newer FICO score models, so that stands for the Fair Isaac Corporation. They do a lot of the score reporting, credit score calculations and reporting. They're on a FICO score 9 now. There's different versions of credit scores. They will treat medical debt less negatively than they used to. And what is a little newer is now there's an optional statement that you can provide to creditors to explain any extenuating circumstances. It's an option really that you didn't have before. And I guess I would operate under this mindset. It's not going to hurt to add any sort of explanation. We just don't know at times how much it's actually going to help. So your credit score. It is a numerical score based on the elements, the details, the information of what's actually in your credit report. And typically the scores range from 300 to 850. Now there's actually about 300 different scoring models, but if you use a FICO score 8, that is used in about 90% of lending decisions, and that's what you're seeing here. So you're seeing from poor, low, fair, good, and excellent credit scores, and then the numbers that are inclusive under each of those rankings. Normally, anything above a 700 is perceived as pretty good and puts you in a competitive position for lower interest rates, or for example, getting a mortgage, taking out a car loan. Not to say you wouldn't get it if you were below a 702, but the higher your credit score is, you're going to be rewarded with lower interest rates on debt that you decide you want to take on or have to take on. Next slide. Thank you. And these are the 5 elements that constitute the strength of your credit score. So I'm going to go through each of these in turn so we can keep going. And regardless of the scoring model, ultimately using these guidelines that I'm about to present to you are always going to be good practice. So payment history, I mentioned earlier how important it is. 35% of your credit score is simply, and I don't mean to simplify it for folks who have difficulty doing this, but paying your credit amount, your credit bill on time. Even making the minimal payment on time every time is so important, and that's going to account for 35%. Normally you can't be reported late unless you're 30 days late or 30 days past due, but that's not something that you kind of want to play with. You don't want to make it a regular habit to pay your credit card bill 28 days into a late cycle, because what if there's some delay? What if something happens that you didn't anticipate? But telling yourself, I have to pay this, even the minimal amount on this date every month. Collection accounts and bankruptcies, again, can stay on a report for 7 to 10 years. That's a long time. If you have had a delinquency in making a payment, when it was first reported, so the further you get away from that reporting of a delinquency, the better. And debt can only be reported to credit bureaus for 7 years after the account was first reported as late or delinquent. But if you make a payment, then it starts at 7-year clock again. Next slide, please. 30% is what's called your credit utilization. So say you do have a credit card that has a $10,000 limit. The lower amount you have charged on that card at any given time, the better. And what is a general rule of thumb is to try to have no more than 30% utilization on that card. So say I have a $10,000 limit and I've charged no more than $3,000 or lower. That's going to help raise your credit score, leaving 70% or so open. But the problem is that say my credit limit is here and I'm incrementally charging my, the debt I have incurred is getting closer and closer to that $10,000. then my credit score is going to take a hit for that until that starts to go down. And this is again referred to as credit utilization. And say you have unused accounts, you're almost always better keeping those unused accounts open, not closing them, because then what they're contributing to is your overall credit availability that you're not using. They're lowering the ratio of all the credit you have available to you and what you've used. So you're almost always better keeping them open. And if you don't want the creditor to close them, what I've done, I have a Macy's card that I don't use a lot, but what I'll do is maybe charge a sweater for $30. Every 6 months or 9 months, I'll buy something that's a low amount that I know I can pay off. That will keep that card open. The creditors won't close it on me, but I keep my utilization of it quite low. Next slide, please. And the next factor is the length of your credit history. So this is another instance where leaving accounts open, especially the longest ones that you've had, the earliest ones you've established in your life, keeping those open can help you also in this factor of your credit score. So again, if you do need to close an account for any reason, you're almost always better off closing an account that's newer and not an older one, because that will help with this fraction or with this percentage of your credit score. And they're going to look at the average age of all your accounts in the calculation. So again, keeping older ones open, but hopefully unused, is better for you. And next slide, please. New credit. So this only accounts for 10%, but you do have to be awfully careful of this, because when we say 2 to 3 hard inquiries, what we're referring to is actual credit or loan applications. That's a hard inquiry. So I've opened a Target card. I am applying for a loan for a boat. These stay on your credit report and can negatively impact it for up to 2 years. So normally you don't want any more than 2 to 3 hard inquiries, if that, a year, if you can help it. Now, if you're shopping for something like a mortgage or an auto loan and you do it within a concentrated period of time, it's normally then just counted as one inquiry overall. Even though you might go to several mortgage lenders, in a short period of time, you may apply for 4 or 5 mortgages through different lenders. But if you do it in a concentrated period of time, it's only going to count as one inquiry. What you don't want is to stretch out 2, 3, 4 months where you're trying to open 4 credit cards, you're applying for an auto loan, you're applying for a mortgage. All that together is going to have a decent size impact to your credit score, because opening or trying to open several new accounts within a period of time signals to lenders that you plan to take on a lot of debt in, again, a more concentrated period. But and I know it sounds sort of odd, but if you shop within a real tighter window, then it tends to count as one inquiry. You just don't want to stretch out applying for a lot of new debt. Next slide, please. And types of credit score, this I wouldn't be overly concerned about. This refers to your credit mix. So often they look at the broad array of different types of debt you might have. So maybe you have an auto loan, maybe you have a student loan, maybe you have a mortgage. They just look to see that you can handle different types of loan or credit obligations and how you're handling that. That is not to say that if you don't have a car loan, that you need to go out and get a car loan. That's not the message here. It's just that the debt that you do have, if there is a mix and you're handling that mix well, that can be of benefit to you. But we don't want people going out and establishing new credit that they don't need just to try to improve this aspect of their credit score. I hope that makes sense to folks. And next slide, please. I referred to this a little earlier, but there's hard inquiries versus soft inquiries. Hard inquiries are when an actual application has been completed to take on additional debt, and it stays on that credit report for 2 years. Soft inquiries are if you're checking your own credit report, if you're getting credit card offers in the mail, if Parachute runs your credit report for you. These are all soft inquiries that will not negatively impact your credit score. So that's important to know. Next slide. Okay, so there's some confusion about this and obtaining free credit reports because there's a lot of services out there that advertise that they're free in a sense, but then they're asking you for a credit card number. Don't do that. Please go to annualcreditreport.com where you can get a credit report for free weekly. It used to be annually, which is why it's annual credit report. But during COVID, they were offering it weekly, and they've decided to keep that a permanent arrangement. This is the only website authorized by the federal government. And you would see that if you went to the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC website, you will see that they only endorse annualcreditreport.com. So that's where you want to go. Next slide. How quickly is your credit score going to change? It depends. There's no sort of black and white guaranteed answer on this. It depends on everyone's individual situation. Sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it takes 9 months or more. You just have to be kind of patient with it. It's very easy to get into debt very quickly. It is tougher to dig out, but it can certainly happen. And again, if you want ways of help with that or assistance, you can always contact us. Next slide, please. When you're trying to build your credit, just shop around. Look for credit cards that have no or low annual fees, that have additional services like credit monitoring or free credit. And I mean really free credit scores. I don't mean where they're asking you for information to charge you annually. Make sure whoever you are, that the lender reports to all 3 of the credit bureaus. So that was again Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And on here are some good websites to go to compare reputable credit card offers. Bankrate.com is really good, or you can go to creditcards.com or something by the name of NerdWallet. As funny as that sounds, they're reputable. Next slide, please. If you are a young adult trying to establish credit, I mentioned earlier being an authorized user. So I'll explain this quickly. If you know someone and trust someone who manages their credit well, they can add you as an authorized user. Just simply putting your name on their account. You have no legal obligation to pay. And you can also charge on that card if you want to, or if there's that agreement with another person, but you don't have to. Simply by having your name on the card of someone who is responsible with their credit is going to help you build good credit. So think about that kind of carefully, that if either you want to get on somebody's card or you have a card and someone's asking you to be on it, on your card, but keep in mind they have no legal obligation to pay, and they can charge on it if you agree to allow them to do that. Or you can look into low limit credit cards and just use them very responsibly, meaning, all those 5 elements that we talked about a little bit ago about keeping the balance lower, paying it on time would be the most important behaviors to use. Next slide, please. Be careful. Predatory lending, where there are lenders out there who are looking to prey on people who are either have no credit or low credit. And there's a little term out there called credit invisible, where predatory lenders charge very excessive fees. They often have interest rates higher than 30%. And out-of-state banks can do that. New York State, I believe the limit is 24.99%, but you may get offers from a bank out of state where they're asking you for 35% interest. You have to be very careful. Balloon payments, where your last payment is going to be much, much higher than your regular payments, or they're penalizing you for paying a debt off early. You feel pressured by them. They're trying to rush your decision. They're telling you to leave anything blank or that they will fill it in for you, or they'll just say, oh, just sign here. You don't have to read all that. Don't worry about it. We've got to get this in today because this offer closes tomorrow. Be very leery of that kind of behavior. And I would say, again, run anything by us. We will let you know if we are concerned about that entity being predatory. And next slide, please. Protecting your credit, we talked about this already. Monitoring your credit regularly by getting a free report every week if you so choose. Looking for errors or suspicious activity. There have been a ton of data breaches where a lot of our information, I've been compromised several times. So that your best protection against that is regularly monitoring your credit reports and noticing anything that's unusual and disputing them. And also freezing your credit, where you can go on the Experian site, Equifax, or TransUnion and freeze it so no one can open credit in your name. They cannot take loans in your name. They cannot open credit cards, mortgages. It locks everything down. I've done that now for probably about 7 years. You can lock and unlock. It's a little bit of a pain, it's a little inconvenient, but you can do it for free. That's the strongest protection you've got over fraud alerts. I mean, you can certainly sign up for fraud alerts where lenders will contact you to verify your identity before approving any new credit. But the freeze will actually lock everything down. Next slide, please. And this was talked about earlier, but just being safe online. We have a tendency to use passwords multiple times, the same password. We use passwords that are easy to remember. Make them tough, make them tougher so that it's difficult. And make it where, if there's two-factor authentication available, and that's where they will send you a number, a code they'll text it to you or call you with it, and you have to put that number in to verify that it's you. So it's either your phone number or your email. Just be real cautious about what information you share online. Keep that social security number, don't give it out freely. I know there's some forms at physician's office that'll ask for it, and I'll say, do you need this? And they'll say, okay, if you want to leave it blank, you can leave it blank. And be careful about shredding documents, that you're on top of things like this. And just reviewing your bank and credit card statements online or when they come to you monthly, and look for anything unusual. Next slide. We're almost finished. We are absolutely here to help. Please contact us for any additional assistance overall in achieving your financial goals. We can address a wide variety of financial matters. There's our phone number, our email, and our website. And I am done. Thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you, Libby. That was very informative. Appreciate it.
Oh, sure, of course.
And with that, we'll stop recording and see if there are any questions.
Just working on the stop recording. Give me one